What need have I to keep these thoughts to myself? I lived it, did I not? From first contact to present day, I am a witness of humanity's emergence onto the intergalactic stage. Who better than I to speak of their rise? From the memoirs of Ambassador at Large, see Tovan, As I Lived It, published by Bain Rocket Press, Terran Solar Year 2209. I went to Terra as a diplomat's aide early on in the contact process. It was an entirely backwards world to me, so foreign, so strange and rooted in the past. The first time I saw them up close was at the transit station, where a company of men bearing rifles waited. I tried but could not understand why the human shipboard detachments carried knives on their belts, some sort of strange blade they called a bayonet. Something so anachronistic should not be kept anywhere but a museum or melted down into chairs, Ambassador Sneakree declared the first time she saw them. We chittered our support with enthusiasm, eager to prove our loyalty to the ambassador's vision. We were here to lead these benignant primates into a modern age and to abandon their primitive fetishes, not succumb to their idiosyncrasies. Terra was fascinating, with all its varieties of people, languages, foods, cultures within cultures, each struggling to be preeminent. A grub can learn new tricks, and while I had passed into accepted adulthood, my youthful enthusiasm propelled me forward to learn everything about these creatures we call humans. Then came Zeth Mandu, when we learned the depth of humanity's will to survive. I had, by this time and with great reluctance, been promoted off Terra to become Chief of Staff for the Consulate on Zephyr Station, a highly important hub of travel in the Galactic Confederacy. That was why the pirates struck there. They saw the potential for rich loot. They hit us just after planetary sunset with an EMP blast so strong it blacked out the station's defenses. Pulse pistols, railguns, sonic blasters, even destructor guns, all useless. Then they swarmed aboard, and we were powerless to resist. The human ambassador had come to Zeth Mandu, a refueling stop on the journey towards the pan-galactic capital on Popsica, to deliver humanity's demand of justice for an unwarranted attack made decades prior against humanity's home world. I was in the midst of greeting Ambassador Minumore when the lights died. "We must be under attack," one of my aides shrieked in the semi-lit darkness as the emergency lights slowly came on in the cavern. Around us, the company of honor guards had turned into a protective circle, weapons pointed outward, like some kind of spiny creature from my homeworld. The ambassador, a lean, silver-haired man who wore swords on his hip, looked to the captain of his guards. "Captain Donnerstag, any word for the Callahan?" "Limited, sir. Lot of static and interference. Sergeant Copley, get on it." "Aye, aye, sir," a tall Marine from the back barked as he fell back towards the center of the circle, quickly digging through the neatly squarish backpacks they all wore. Near Ambassador Minamori, his two eyes had set their diplomatic pouches down, and I saw for the first time that they too wore swords of the same style as he did. "Personal guards?" I asked, trying to make small talk in the dark. "Their families have served mine for generations. They are sworn by oath to serve and protect me. The Marines are my bulwark. Hashimoto and Nakamura are my swords." One of the Marines, a man with a scarred, craggy face like a pockmarked asteroid colony, walked briskly around the circle, then back to the captain's side. "Sir, company's good to go, but looks like all of our electronics are fired." "Thank you, First Sergeant." "Getting info from the Callahan, sir," Copley announced. "Somebody set off an EMP device on the far side of the station. They've punched boarders through the observation deck in the promenade area on the far side. Callahan's on emergency reserve. Engines went into hard lockdown. Bosun won't have them up for at least a half hour." Fear gripped my insides. I will not lie about this. Only one group, a hodgepodge of outlaws called the Retea, would dare such a feat. It was widely suspected that they had a hand in the bombing of Terra's first shipyards, but no investigator could prove it. and for far too long the Galvani Confederacy had sheltered the Retayer from punishment. "What do you recommend, Captain?" Ambassador Mori asked. "We can't run away, can't hide, and I really don't like the idea of dying, sir," Donnerstag replied. "So we will wait here?" "No, sir. If the enemy is dead, they are no longer a threat to your person. We will sweep the station, board the enemy vessels, and eliminate all hostile forces in the area." "The Retayer will number in the hundreds," I protested. "They always do this. They're a frenzied mob of violence. And besides, nothing works." "Nothing electronic." Captain Donnerstag grinned in that vile, teeth-baring fashion humans so often do. He pulled the pistol from his holster on his hip, racking back the slide to check the contents within. "First Sergeant Torres, have Cox Rawson and his Blue Jackets report to me with the special munitions." "Yes, sir." "Gunny Moore." "Sir." "Prepare to repel boarders. We are to retake the promenade area." "Aye, aye, sir." A furious boom filled the landing deck, such as I could not have imagined coming from a human's tiny frame. "All right, you ugly sons of bitches. Company will prepare to advance to the promenade deck and repel all boarders. Staff Sergeant Bolton." "Here, Gunny." "Second platoon has the lead. Move out." "Belligerent second, you heard the man." The Marines gave a weird, barking growl as they scrambled for the door, a veritable tide of gleaming brass and dark blue uniforms moving with ease. Part of me wanted to crawl into a storage crate and hide, knowing the fate which awaited them. And yet I could not show fear. Or reluctance. It would not do for a member of the Pan-Galactic Diplomatic Corps to be found lacking at this moment, and so I followed. It has been 19 years since that day. The bloodstains are gone. The deck plates shine, freshly cleaned in the midnight hours by diligent robotic staff when there is no foot traffic to disturb them. The noxious odor of human gunpowder no longer lingers. Recycled air scrubbers line the concourse, and the magnificent Kuplibopa flowers sold here are a pleasing, soothing scent. The sound of dead and dying sentients shrieking for relief is no longer heard. As you draw towards the promenade centre, though, silence takes hold. Not by force field, but by unspoken decree. In this quiet place, a ring of cherry trees blossom continuously. Their petals fall on real human grass, left to decay there and give their nutrients back into the rich black soil of their mother home. Within this circle, the marble sentinels stand. Their weapons are pointed towards the far windows where the attack boats broke in. Munemori is there, katana held in his hands. Hashimoto and Nakamura flank him, looking so much like their ancestors. Their faces are not scared, they are determined. On either side, one sees Marines. There is Captain Donnerstag, handsome in his blue uniform even as he orders his men to their deaths. There is Lance Corporal Baron, spearing a pirate to the deckplate. Dark-haired Corporal Kahimana, swinging his broken rifle by the barrel with his right and a car-bar knife in his left. Gunny Moore firing calmly as he stands over Doc Baker, who shields Lieutenant Vetter's body with his own, fighting to keep the lieutenant alive. Far on the left one can see Lieutenant Annes shoving terrified Krivak nestlings back as he steps in front of them. And there, beside his captain, is Sergeant Tolliver, the Guardian in his hands, having punched through the skull plate of a Retayer Corsair. The head of the pike stands out prominently. They did not die there, on that ground, not all of them. But it was in the promenade, as those thrice-be-damned Retayer scum crooned for the cameras and broadcast their deprivations to the galaxy at large, that Terrans gained their reputation. We had thought of them backwards, childish, uncivil, unfit, unclean. I learned the truth that day. They are all this and so much more. There is bravery and courage and will. There is desire, there is hunger, fury, elation, joy. They possess an infectious drive to thrive and survive that cannot be contained. Arrogance, bravado, honor, pain. Those last four the Terran Marines thrive upon. It is a hallmark of their training that they learn to endure far beyond what many would ever think is necessary for the sake of victory. Victory above all else. I watched them rise and fall and rise again. When Sergeant Yan threw himself onto a grenade without hesitation, I knew the Retail were finished. Such selflessness is not the way of the Peleth, nor the Krivak, nor most any other sentient species in the known universe. We look after ourselves, but the humans value life differently, and demand that others respect that value. For want of this respect, they wreaked a terrible justice upon the Retail. The Marines and Bluejackets chased their foes up into the attack boats which had brought them aboard Zethmandu, slaughtering any who stood against them without hesitation. When they ran out of bullets, the Marines used their knives. When those too finally shattered, they resorted to fists and teeth, mauling their way through a horde thrice their size. In terror, the pirate captain tried to lift off. Then and only then did the Marines fall back, waiting, watching. And in the darkness we saw a new star born, as the bright light of primitive hydrogen-pumped fusion swept that awful vessel from the depth of space. Their cruiser, Callahan, ensured that not one Retail savage was escape swift and certain justice. 1 ambassador, 2 aides, 123 Marines and 18 sailors came aboard Zethmandu Station. 3 samurai, 53 Marines and 7 sailors died that day. 71 lost limbs or organs. I lost my third hand in an ice stork, dragging 2 of the wounded Marines to safety, trying to act as they had. But they lived because of me. We buried the dead in the promenade, burning their bodies atop a pyre of all those they had slain. And over those ashes, the humans planted a garden, decorated with statues, a monument to the fallen. In the 19 years since the storming of Zethmandu, humanity has erected several such monuments. Wherever a traveller finds one, they know they stand on sacred ground. It is washed in the blood of the brave. Many come now to see, to look, to wonder. I do not go to the statues, though. I do not need the marble images to remind me of their faces. Across from the human stands a polished plinth carved from the hatch of a captured attack boat, inscribed with names in cold platinum. Above it, set in bronze, are boots taken from a sergeant's body, his rifle, and the white disc that he had worn as he, like so many others, charged to their death. I sit on the bench before this simple, austere monument, and ponder upon the words etched into stone, for all who come to see. And I know the truth of humanity. No greater friend, no worse enemy. Author's note. Each of the Japanese names given are taken from men who served in the US Army during World War II. Sadao Munemori, Mikio Hasemoto, William K. Nakamura. All 3 men were Nisei, serving in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. They were each posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. Their names are used here so that they will not be forgotten. Go for broke.